Welcome, everyone. We will be starting in just a few moments as we let everyone enter into the webinar. We want to welcome everyone who is joining us. We just have a few moments here as we're letting everyone enter into the webinar. We'll be starting shortly. Welcome, everyone, to today's Spotlight series by Advancing Excellence. And we want to go through a few housekeeping things before we get started here. First of all, handouts have been sent in advance, but they will also be sent out after today's session. We do want to remind attendees that CEs are available for administrator NAB credits. We also have nursing CEs, social service CEs, and case manager CEs. And a reminder, in order to get your CEs, you have to attend the full session, and a link will be sent out to all registrants post the end of the session here today. So reminder, make sure you check your spam email. At sometimes Zoom will go into your spam emails. And in that email, you will see a link in order to complete the evaluation for your CEs and to put in the specific information that you need for your CEs, as well as a link to the handouts as well. We want to remind everyone here before we get started, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the question and answer box as well. And if we don't get to every question by the end of the webinar, the panelists will then follow up to all attendees a result of the additional questions and the answers as a follow-up to everybody in attendance. We also want to make sure that everyone understands that there will be a recording available for everyone so that you will be able to share it with your team members as well. That recording, a link to that recording will be coming out after the webinar, will be coming to all registrants for this webinar. And you will also be able to see it on the Advancing Excellence website underneath the resource page. In addition, the panelists will be putting together a one-page flyer that will talk about the key highlights from today's webinar and some best practice standards that they would like to share with everyone. And you'll be able to access that off of the Advancing Excellence website and use that within your organization. So now, again, I want to welcome everyone to the webinar series, and I would like to turn it over to our moderator and host for today's session.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, actually, for some of us. My name is Jay Sackman, and I'd like to introduce myself briefly before I move on. Next slide, please. Slide's not moving. Okay. We're having trouble moving the slides?
They've moved.
No.
No, all I see is Spotlight Series session. Okay, well, I'll speak anyway. Jay Sackman here. I've been a member of Advancing Excellence for the past 16 years. A little bit about background. Started out as an attorney. My law firm was retained by a union and employer-sponsored legal service plan, and I provided legal representation to thousands of healthcare workers over the course of 13 years. And became intimately involved in knowing, about their lives, their personal lives, as well as their financial circumstances. Then the union that my father founded in 1934 called me back to provide leadership, and I served there until 17 years ago when I pivoted away and started my own consulting firm. And I do consulting for payers, providers, administrators, One of our speakers today is the Training and Employment Fund of 1199, and I've been consulting now for the past 17 years, in addition to having served as a member of Advancing Excellence and as past chair. Are we having trouble moving the slides, Lisa?
No, you're not, Jay.
It's not, they're not moving.
Now, next to it, now talk about advancing excellence.
Okay, yes. So Advancing Excellence was started 17 years ago as a partnership between industry leaders and CMS with funding from the Commonwealth Fund. And its objective was in this partnership with government to improve quality in nursing homes. We had a website, which was a performance improvement platform that nursing homes could download evidence-based performance improvement tools, and also upload their data on falls and pressure ulcers, et cetera, other clinical goals as well as organizational goals. And then we pivoted away from our relationship with CMS and the QIO program a few years ago, and we started having open forums. One of our first open forums was in 2017, and during which we invited Karen Tritz, who was the director of nursing homes at CMS, to make a presentation. We had a roundtable discussion, and most recently, we've been having a series of webinars on various subjects, and also the most recent ones being focused on workforce. So the last Spotlight Series webinar was in December, State Strategies to Revitalize Long-Term Care Workforce. And today's webinar is Strategies for CNA Apprenticeship Recruitment and Retention. So next slide, please. So these are the learning objectives for today: to develop a strategic recruitment plan for apprentices and mentors, prepare mentors effectively for their mentorship roles, and implement strategies to enhance post-graduation retention. Next, please. So here are our speakers, and I'll do a brief introduction of each of them, and each of the speakers will be introducing the organization that they're affiliated with. James Chang is Workforce Development Manager in the Long-Term Care Community-Based Organization and Pharmacy Division of the 1199 SEIU Training and Employment Funds. Using his broad experience in adult education, curriculum design, and workforce development, James works closely with labor and management to develop and implement many projects responsive to worker and employer needs. In his 22 years with TEF, James and his team have worked with dozens of nursing homes and hospitals in the greater New York metropolitan area. They engaged thousands of workers in a wide array of projects, from workplace skills instruction, such as conflict resolution and cultural competency, to registered apprenticeship programs. Under his leadership, TEF has successfully launched 16 CNA cohorts in the last several years. A forthcoming project will train and place 130 immigrant youth in CNA positions over the next 6 years. The project, sponsored by the JCH Marks with grant support from the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development, will engage several nursing homes in southern Brooklyn. James is also leading at an LPN training and residency initiative in partnership with several nursing homes affiliated with various health systems. The next speaker will be Ariana Moreau, who is Director of Clinical Services at AG Rhodes, with more than 14 years of experience in long-term and post-acute care. Ariana's career objective is to provide holistic, high-quality, patient-directed care. She's also passionate about leveraging technology in healthcare and identifying new and creative ways to enhance clinical outcomes and reduce clinician workload. She was inspired by her volunteer work as a long-term care community with her church youth group to become a nurse. She's a certified Eden trainer and serves on various local and national committees focused on advancing quality and post-acute care, including advancing excellence. She graduated with her associate degree in nursing from Beville's State Community College and completed a bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Texas, Arlington. And our last speaker to wrap things up with information about what does the evidence say about retention, best practices in retention and recruitment. Dr. Barb Bowers, Professor Emeritus at the University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Nursing. Dr. Barrows has many years of experience as a researcher and teacher in long-term care settings, focusing mainly on workforce development and care quality. Her research focuses on frail, older adults and people with lifelong disabilities in both community and residential settings. Dr. Barrows is the founding director of the School of Nursing Center for Aging Research and Education. She's an expert in qualitative research methods and serves in the editorial board of Qualitative Health Research, the Western Journal of Nursing Research, and the International Journal of Older People in Nursing. She's associate editor of The Gerontologist and oversees qualitative and mixed media research resources in the Institute for Clinical and Translational Research at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And Barbara is also a past chair of Advancing Excellence, like myself. So now our first speaker will be James, and followed by Ariana, and then Barb Bowers. James?
Thank you, Jay. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. My name is James Chang, manager at 1199 Training and Employment Funds in New York City. I'm with our long-term care nursing home division. So it's such a pleasure to be here to talk about our experience in running apprenticeship programs with a focus on strategies for recruitments and post-graduation retention. Again, post-graduation retention. So before we dive into those two areas, allow me to share some background information. Next, please. Thank you. So as you may or may not know, but it is just so humbling to say this, we, the Training Fund, are the nation's largest labor and management training organization. We work with over 650 healthcare employers in 5 different states. For the downstate New York office, where I'm from, we work with labor and management at over 300 nursing facilities in the greater New York area. The goal is to help those nursing homes address staffing issues, which has never been more important than it is now, right? I'm sure you will agree. Next, please. So to achieve the goal, we have been working with HCAP. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see that Healthcare Career Advancement Program and its National Center for Healthcare Apprentices since 2016 to roll out several registered apprentice training cohorts for different titles. And on the screen, you can see the employer partners we have collaborated with since 2022 post-pandemic, especially on the CNA and LPN apprenticeship programs. So, all right, that was the quick overview of our services and training programs. Well, some of you may ask, hey, James, what are registered apprenticeship programs, right? Known as RAPs, R-A-P-S. I wish it were a different kind of rap, but hey, RAPS, RAPs. Next, please. In a nutshell, so on the screen, you can see the 5 key components of the 7-month RAPs, which include a labor management-driven model that can maximize project outcomes, especially for post-graduation retention. Again, for post-graduation retention. And also you can see on the screen classroom learning and mentorship support that are designed to enhance apprentices on-the-job training experience. So later you're going to hear me say OJT, which it means on-the-job training, OJT. And also financial rewards that provide the earn while you learn benefits. The last but not least, on the list, you can see that they will also receive national and state recognized credentials upon successful completion of the registered apprenticeship program. So in the interest of time, for more information, you're very welcome to go to dol.gov and then search for apprenticeship. I'm sure you will see a lot of useful information on that website. Okay, so let's move right along. Next, please. So as we gradually came out of COVID with the support from labor and management, the training fund launched our very first post-pandemic CNA registered apprentice program in September 2022. So between 2022 and 2024, we rolled out a total of 13 CNA registered apprentice training cohorts in downstate New York. As a result, we were able to provide a career ladder opportunity to 114 participants who wanted to study to become CNAs. Please keep in mind that the 13 cohorts did not begin all at the same time. Therefore, they have different program end dates for the 7-month training. Again, they didn't begin all at the same time. That's why they have different program end dates. So also exciting to share, as of today, 79 participants have been certified by New York State. And among them, 54 have completed on-the-job training and graduated from the 7-month federal apprentice program. So for my presentation today, my focus will be on post-graduation retention, but not about the completion. So to avoid confusion, here is how it works. So once the apprentices finish the first month of classroom learning, while waiting to take the state exam, they will need to start and complete their 6 months OJT. That's a total of 7 months. Then after that, they can graduate from the federal program. So again, as shared earlier, not all the 54 graduated at the same time. In fact, a few of them were just completed in September 2023. So next, please. So now let's talk more about the post-graduation retention. Well, as you can see here, as of March 1st this year, 48 of the 54 graduates were remaining with their employers, which translate into an overall, again, on average, an 89% post-graduation retention rate. If you plug in a time frame, for example, like 6 months and 1 year after graduation, then it would be 96% for 6 months and 85% for 1 year. Plus, please keep in mind that several apprentices from the 6 months group, are still working towards their 1 year retention milestone. So those numbers will continue to change a little bit. It may go up a little bit, as time progresses. So what does that mean? 89% post-graduation retention. What does that mean? Okay, let's check this out. Next, please. I'm sure you know better than I do, right? That high retention can help address the challenges you are seeing on the screen, but not limited to the ones here. Also, I'd like to point out that according to a lot of New York City nursing homes we have worked with, to onboard a new CNA, it can cost anywhere between $1,200 to $1,500, depending on the location. Imagine how much it's going to be in the end if you had to do the new hire onboarding over and over and over again due to low retention at your facility, right? And also based on the latest turnover data on Medicare.gov, for CNA nursing staff in New York, on average, it is 41.9%. 41.9%, which can translate into a 58.1 retention rate. 58.1 retention rate. Next, please. So on the screen, you can see that in comparison to our overall 89% retention rate, I think you got a picture, right? So in terms of post-graduation retention, next, please. Some of you may ask, hello, James. So what are the reasons or factors that have motivated those 48 CNAs to continue to stay after graduating from the federal program? Well, based on our conversation with a lot of them, 2 of the major factors have emerged. And they are, next please. The first one was the support from their mentors during the process. A lot of them have become good friends with their mentors, which gave them a sense of belonging. Some of them even say that they felt at home in the workplace. In fact, there's a lot of literatures, online supporting the notion that workplace belonging can have a positive impact on retention. Again, workplace belonging can have a positive impact on retention. So here's the second factor, okay, based on our survey. Okay, before I show you the answer, I want to guess without saying out loud. 3 seconds. Next, please. Oh, there it goes. It's all right. Their residence. So I was pleasantly surprised, to hear that. I thought that they would have said the wage progression component that was associated with the apprenticeship program. In other words, they would get a salary increase during the learning process. A salary increase during the learning process. So based on their responses, this is absolutely incredible. Why? Their passion for healthcare and their relationships with their mentors and residents have elevated their career goal to the much, much higher level. Kudos to them. Next, please. So now let me briefly talk about our mentorship model. Since 2022, we have trained more than 120 CNA mentors from various participating nursing homes in our area. So with the support from labor and management, incumbent CNAs with years of experience at participating facilities are recruited, trained, and provided with a salary differential as an incentive, right? For the mentoring hours, that they will be working with their apprentices during the OJT segment on the job training. So in terms of mentor training, we use topic relevant activity to sharpen mentors' emotional intelligence and enhance their compassion. We also equip them with coaching tools so that they can help bring out the empathy and compassion in each of the apprentices. As a result, guess what? Trust and team-based relationship can be established between mentors and apprentices. Let me give you an example here. So here is a true story we often share in the classroom in order to enhance mentors' compassion. Next, please. So in February 2007, a major bus collision occurred in Sweden where 2 buses collided head-on, resulting in the death of 6 people. Next, please. So 5 years later, a qualitative study using semi-structured telephone interviews was conducted with 54 out of 56 surviving passengers. The study wanted to find out what those survivors still remembered 5 years later. So here are the findings, but in the interest of time, I will only share the top 2, only the top 2. Next, please. So the number 1 answer was physical pain, of course, right? Of course. Followed by a very, very significant number 2 response, in my opinion, which was, check this out. Next, please. Yes, you got it right. Even after 5 years, the bus crash survivors still remembered how they were treated at the healthcare facilities 5 years later. I wish you had been there in the classroom with me to see our CNA mentors' aha moments, reactions. So powerful, educational, and priceless. All right, so now we're going to pivot and take a look at someone's quote. Next, please. So things do not happen. Things are made to happen. Want to guess who said it? Any take? There you go. JFK. I often apply that quote to our first-hand experience in running CNA reps, especially for the recruitment process. Next, please. So what that means is that how you recruit and who you recruit can make a difference in post-graduation retention. Of course, in between, and there are many other factors that can affect the outcomes as well. For example, next, please. As shared earlier, the quality of mentorship that is put in place is absolutely crucial. And also, it's very important to have timely onboarding of new apprentices in order to prepare them for success. And plus the frequency of wage progression, like through the entire process, and the communication, again, is so crucial. Communication between the apprentices and the management team, etc. So in terms of how and who we recruit, our focus has always been on participants' academic readiness and their commitment to working in a long-term care setting. Therefore, assessment and interviewing both played a crucial role in selecting qualified and committed candidates before launching a CNA rep. So here's an example. Okay, next, please. For our most recent CNA apprentice recruitment, which is cohort 14, as always, we tap into our Facebook page and other social media platforms in order to get the word out, right? And the goal is to capture as many potential candidates as possible from the get-go. Plus, the participating employer was very supportive as well. We were very grateful. For example, they posted the recruitment flyer all over the place at the facility and at some local churches as well. They helped to distribute the flyer to their employees and the visitors all the time. They also, very important to say this, they also agreed to hire apprentices from day one of classroom learning and provide them with wage progression during the process, which led to an awesome recruitment outcome. And it's very interesting to share this. During the first 2 days of the recruitment process for cohort 14, guess how many applications we got? Well, check this out. In the first 2 days, we got only one application. The first 2 days, I'm not kidding here. Then on day 3, the number went up to 88. And a week later, we ended up with a total of 386 applications. So here's a quick breakdown. And next, please. So in the end, we were able to select 20 strong candidates for the final interview. And some of you may ask, hey, James, hold on a second. Yeah. How did you come up with the top 20 to be interviewed by labor and management, right? So our main principle is to prepare workers for success. So now here comes the crucial part, which is assessment. Next, please. Well, the training fund that we have our own assessment tool developed by our education departments is called CARE. It's called CARE, which stands for Core Academic Readiness Evaluation. So based on the assessment results, the top 20 participants, the cream of the crop, right, made a cut for the final interviews conducted by labor and management. So in the end, 12 was selected for the CNA Apprenticeship Program, cohort 14, and whoever didn't get selected will be automatically considered for the next cohort. Next, please. So all in all, it takes a village to run an apprenticeship program. I'm not kidding here, but if it is done correctly from the get-go, is more likely to produce desirable post-graduation retention. Again, post-graduation retention And well, with all the data you just saw and the lesson learned throughout the process, the training fund continue to adapt and evolve in order to deal with post-pandemic staffing challenges. Our goal is to produce outcomes in a positive and productive way for many, many years to come. Next, please. Oh, there you go. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, James, for a very interesting presentation and very comprehensive. If you would, there are a couple of questions, perhaps we'll have time at the end that you could, so you could answer them. I'd like to now turn it over to Ariane Moreau from AG Rhodes, and she'll do an introduction of her organization and make her presentation. Thank you.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everyone. I have the pleasure of working for AG Rhodes. We are a community in Atlanta. We have 3 nursing homes, and we are one of Atlanta's oldest nonprofits. We just celebrated a really big milestone of 120-year anniversary this past year. And we have the unique capability that we are geographically close together. All 3 of our communities are in the metro area. Next slide, please. So as I said, we have 3 homes. Our original home opened up in 1904. Then we added our AG Rhodes Cobb community in 1992. And we added our Wesley Woods campus in 1997. Next slide, please. A little bit more about our organization. We just surpassed, I need to update that bottom box. We just surpassed 600 total employees. We have 2 of our homes that have been voted best in Georgia homes. And one of the biggest things that is most relevant to what I'll share today is the tenure of our employees. I think that really speaks to the culture of our organization, and I'm going to talk a lot about our culture today. So more than 50% of our staff, have a tenure of more than 5 years. And, we have over 31 employees that have a tenure of more than 25 years. So I just attended a legacy care partner celebration a couple of weeks ago. We celebrated someone that's been with us, a CNA that's been with us over 40 years. So I think that's just another testament to the culture that they've built here at AG Rhodes. Next slide. One of the big things that we're really proud of is that we're an Eden organization. We, have adopted the Eden alternative that really focuses on the core, domains of well-being, which are identity, connectedness, security, autonomy, meaning, growth, and joy. And this is taught to all of our new hires joining our organization at orientation. We have ongoing training throughout the year for our current associates, and our elders are really involved in this process as well. They help with some of the training. They're incorporated into some of these programs, and that really, helps with that connectedness piece. And it also, gives our elders an opportunity to be a part of that culture as well. Next slide. Another benefit that we have for all of our employees is our Live Well program. And this is a broad range of employee benefit type things. It's things from, health and wellness activities, such as you'll see some of our staff here at a couple of different races, some yoga. It's all about mindfulness, health, and empowerment. And really helping care for our employees in all aspects of their life. We're launching a new financial fitness type program in a couple of months where, we'll teach budgeting and those basic skills for money management. We partner with Big Peach Running to go to all of our different homes and, help fit our employees for shoes. And just different benefits like that. We have Fresh Fruit Fridays where fresh fruit's delivered. So it's really, trying to go above and beyond and make sure, all aspects of our employee health is met. And our employees are included in this too. You know, they can you know, set up different events and things like that. They can participate, you know, if they want to. Next slide. One of our biggest programs here, and I think that this really helps with consistency in our culture, but also offers that career ladder for those CNAs. And this is our mentorship program. So the idea behind this program is, you know, we've all been in situations where you have new staff members to orient, and you say, oh, you know, James is a great nurse, so we're going to put the new hires with James. Well, maybe James doesn't love that. Maybe James is a great nurse, but he might not be a great teacher. And so the idea behind the mentorship program is that we identify those staff that have a willingness to do that. You know, so that's step one of our mentor program is, do you want to mentor and train and orient new staff? And then we also, you know, make sure that out of the people that are willing to do it, that they have the capabilities to lead and mentor others. They're offered some leadership training. And they are incentivized to do this. If they are selected to be our mentor program, you know, they are incentivized to do this, because not just when they're orienting, but, you know, at all times, because they do take on some leadership, you know, mentorship roles within their, you know, unit. So all of the new staff would be partnered with these people. They're, you know, we encourage to have mentors on every shift, because, you know, you don't just orient on one shift, and on your weekends. So when you're orienting these new staff, there's always kind of that point person that they know who to go to, they can be connected to, and they can start to build those relationships. Because, you know, if staff can make those connections really quickly and feel supported in those first few days, they're much more likely to retain them in that 90-day period. So our mentors, they empower the staff, they orient our new staff, and then they also provide some leadership and mentorship to the current staff. So, you know, while being overseen by the charge nurse, they would help with the CNA assignment for the day. Sometimes they take a less of an assignment so that they can follow up on the other CNA's assignments, especially if you've got some newer staff, to make sure that, you know, the resident preferences are being met, the care is being done, and if anybody needs help, they're there to lend that helping hand. And, you know, this offers a career ladder for those CNAs that maybe they don't want to progress to a med tech or go back to nursing school or something like this. So that's an opportunity for them to grow and learn and have, you know, a leadership role within, you know, the CNA role. And this has greatly improved consistency in our orientation of new hires. You know, you have a smaller group of people that you're, you know, have to meet with if there are changes and things like that, to make sure that staff orientation and competency evaluations are completed. And then, like I said, the relationship building, it really comes down to that. And so these people that are chosen to be mentors are really, you know, people that are good at building those relationships and helping guide that new staff. And this is really, really important for those brand new CNAs. So, you know, those people that they're fresh out of, you know, school, fresh out of certification, having that more seasoned staff member that they can partner with has just really made, you know, the retention rate for those newer newly licensed CNAs so much better. And we also have this for nurses too. You know, we have nurses that we call them lead nurses and things like that, that we would partner our new nurses with. Next slide. So AG Rhodes also has a leadership development program. Now, this program is open to all departments and all staff. they are able to apply to the program. And they have to have a recommendation from their supervisor as well as the administrator of their building. And this program is a longer, more intense leadership development program. And this is really focused on, mentorship, professional growth, and setting those people up for future opportunity. Whether that is a promotion or if it's really just learning to lead up in your current role. So the purpose of the Leadership Development Program is to promote equity and inclusion at AG Rhodes by providing mentors advancement opportunities specifically to the frontline staff. The program will promote professional development within the organization and prepare participants for management roles in the healthcare field. And one thing our CEO always says is, while this leadership program is really preparing them for growth, AG Rhodes is a smaller organization, and sometimes that means growth beyond. There's a limited number of opportunities at AG Rhodes because we're smaller. And so sometimes that does, mean growth beyond AG Rhodes. And so it's a 6-month program that really focuses on, emotional intelligence and leadership and preparing you for that next level. Next slide. We have 2 separate tracks of the leadership program, so you can apply for the business side or the clinical management side. If you're choosing the business side, you're going to learn about more of the business operations of the organization. Like I mentioned, you need a letter of recommendation from the administrator, and you're going to have a lot of shadow opportunities. That's a big part of this program is they shadow all of the different leadership roles within the organization, including our CEO, our COO, our CFO, and then leadership within the building, the administrator or different department heads. And it's really that behind the scenes look to show them all of the ins and outs of what goes on kind of behind the scenes to run the organization. And if the applicants choose the clinical side, it's learning about leadership in clinical services. So they have to have a letter of recommendation from the director of nursing, and they shadow clinical leadership positions from nurse managers to ADONs, DONs, and then obviously, shadowing with myself, the director of clinical reimbursement. And, we focus more on the clinical leadership side, how transitioning from the bedside to more of those leadership roles, what that looks like, what the day-to-day. We teach them a lot about the regulatory landscape in this industry, policy and procedure development, survey management, systems and processes, how to create, develop, and implement those systems and processes, and then clinical education. So I think, we partner with an external university to help teach these leadership classes. So it's not just the shadow sessions with us. They also have these classroom leadership style sessions. They have one-on-one mentoring sessions with the person that teaches these classes. They focus a lot on emotional intelligence, leadership skills, communication, and leadership styles. Because we all know we can't always use that same leadership style for every person. Sometimes we have to change our style to meet the needs of the other people. This program has been really successful at AG Rhodes. One of the graduates of our program, she was the admissions director at one of our homes. She's now the administrator of our home that just had a brand new expansion. And, she's thriving in that role. And I think that's just a really good testament to how well this program really prepares people for growth and, newer opportunities. Next slide. And finally, one thing that we did out of COVID is, AG Rhodes had not ever really struggled with staff stability or retention, but you know, I talked a lot about the longevity of our employees. But with COVID, we were impacted by the staffing challenges, just like most of you all on this call. And so for the first time, AG Roads had to partner with external agency to make sure that we had adequate staffing. So out of that was born AG Roads Care Solutions. Now I mentioned we are geographically all located together. So that made this idea more feasible for us because, you know, all three of our communities are close together. But we developed our own internal staffing agency. You know, this allowed us to train and orient these staff members to our organizational culture and processes, particularly our Eden principles and person-directed care. It gave us more accountability with them. And it also offers our staff more flexibility for the staff members that really desire that non-traditional work schedule. This was a way we could retain those staff still within AG Roads, but offer them that flexibility that they're looking for. And it ultimately eliminated our need to utilize any external agency. Some of the benefits that we offer through this program is weekly pay, flexible scheduling. They are a W-2 employee. They get discounted meals in our homes if they would like to eat there. They have access to the AG Roads Live Well Wellness and Rewards program that I kind of talked about earlier. And then they also have access to our AG Roads Academy with over 2,500 free educational courses. As you can see, in January 2023, AG Roads was spending about $288,000 in external agency costs. And as of January 2025, we have no external agency. And you know, a lot of these programs have played into that, but being able to, you know, meet the demands of the changing workforce and having an avenue to offer more flexibility for those employees, I think really made a big difference for us and is a big reason why Care Solutions has been so successful. You know, we all know too well the challenges of using external agency. You know, they don't know your building, they don't know your all of your policies. There's limited accountability. You have very little say in who you get, and you're kind of just left up to you know, who fills that spot for the day. And so, you know, with being able to bring that in-house, it just gave us so much more transparency and visibility into all of those things, because these are our employees. It's just a separate entity where they have that flexibility, you know, to pick and choose their schedule versus, you know, working in one of our homes, you know, a full-time or a part-time schedule. So, you know, this program has been a lot of work and a big undertaking. Our Chief Human Resource Officer has just done phenomenal with this program and getting it off the ground and really running with it and building it up to something. And now we have a person that actually manages this. It's gotten, you know, so big to the point that we actually have a full-time employee that like manages our Care Solutions and program and helps coordinate, you know, the staffing in all three of our homes, and really, you know, kind of works with that pool of employees to make sure that all of those orientation requirements that we have are met. And they attend the same orientation that our regular employees attend. So, you know, I think if you have an opportunity to do this where it geographically makes sense, that I think this could be really a value add to your organization. So with that, that is the end of my presentation. Next slide. You can see that is the BLT crew doing a little fun on Halloween. The bacon is our COO, Keith Wilson. I was the lettuce. And then our tomato is our Chief Human Resource Officer, Mary. And, you know, they do some incredible work here at AG Roads, but that was a fun day passing out some candy at our communities. But surprisingly, a lot of people didn't get our costume because we were missing the bread. We were trying to be a BLT. But anyway, thank you so much for your time today, and I'll pass it back to you, Jay.
Thank you. And thank you. Before I turn it over to Barb, I just want to thank Ariana and James and also your organizations for actually really advancing excellence. I think you're both doing a great job, and your organizations are as well. And thank you for very informative presentations. I'd like to turn it over to Barbara Bowers, one of our former chairs of Advancing Excellence, to talk about what is the research, what does the evidence say about best practices in recruitment and retention.
All right, helps to unmute myself. Thank you, Jay, and thank you to Ariana and James. Great presentations, and I just want to sort of emphasize the fact that the focus was on recruitment and not so much retention. I know retention is important, but I think we've all spent too much time looking at recruitment from an ever-shrinking pool of possible workers. The more we focus on retention, the less we're going to have to focus on recruitment. So this is really important. Wonderful that you illustrated, each of you, many of the points that have been identified. I have to say, since the 1970s, there's been research looking at turnover, more turnover than retention, but looking at why does staff stay or leave. The issues haven't really changed that much. However, we haven't been using many of the things that we know and keep confirming repeatedly over the years. So thank you for illustrating some of those. And I'm going to be brief and just mention what some of these are. These apply to CNAs and nurses alike. And I think we need to worry about both of those groups. So the first one was sort of obvious. A lot of these things sound really obvious, but they're not quite so easy to implement, especially if we don't really pay attention to them. First one is a warm and welcoming organizational culture. And this is how it feels, not what we think we've put in place, because often not necessarily the things that we think are going to make people feel welcome that actually make them feel welcome. So understanding how they feel. I know James gave a nice quote, and it reminds me of Maya Angelou's quote about people will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I think this is absolutely true, especially of new staff. If I feel like I'm supported, people care about me, are going to could be concerned about my welfare. And I think Ariana gave a beautiful example of being visibly caring about the welfare of the staff. That makes people feel like this is a good place, a good fit for me. Feeling supported. I think one place that staff often talk about, and CNAs in particular, that's really important about feeling supported is the support of peers. And I think that we pay less attention to than other things. Like, what are the other CNAs on the unit doing for a new nurse? And this requires some training. How do you make someone feel welcome? How do you mentor or coach or support somebody? Not everybody does that naturally. And so I think one of the areas that we could probably pay a little more attention to is helping peers of new people help the new people feel supported and welcome. Feeling prepared, and this is a particular issue for nurses. As an educator, I can tell you that a nurse who graduates from any nursing program because of the requirements is not prepared to work in a long-term care environment or a hospital, anywhere else. Most hospitals now have residency programs recognizing that new nurses are actually not prepared to work as full-fledged nurses. They need a long incubation period. So one of the things that I think needs to be recognized is that you can't put a new nurse and probably a new CNA in a position where they have a lot of responsibility that extends beyond both their confidence and their capacity to do the work. That's something that needs to be recognized. We tend to see them as sort of fully baked and ready to go. And in fact, that's not the case. And those allowances need to be made. One of the fastest ways to get rid of a new nurse is to accelerate the responsibility level too quickly. And they get scared to death, really, and leave. And unfortunately, many of them actually leave the profession as a result of an experience like that. Probably the single most important issue identified over and over and over by nurses, new nurses, new CNAs, is having a mentor, whether it's a peer or a supervisor, someone, and it's not just helping them learn the skills, helping them learn about the organization, sometimes about the whole profession, but it's also what has been identified in studies. What the new staff says about a strong mentor is it's a way that through the mentor, the organization is investing in me. They care about me. I'm not just an interchangeable part. They actually care if I stay, and they're helping me do that. And I think Ariana in particular showed an amazing investment where staff feel like the organizations actually care about them and investing in them. The visibility of leaders is really important. There are a number of studies that talk about nurses and CNAs who were on the brink of leaving and stayed because the DON or someone else in authority just came and asked them, how's it going? How are you doing? Anything we can do to help you? That statement of, instead of what I hear most often is an open door policy, this is sort of the reverse of that. It's someone in a leadership position coming out of their office and going to seek out a new person and find out how they're doing. Has a really quite amazing impact. I think feeling supported as people grow in their job, and I think Ariana gave a nice example of that. If someone is passionate about something in particular, find out what that is and help them grow in that way. Whatever it is, if they want to become a leader, if they're interested in dementia or something, find out what people are actually interested. They don't actually generally let you know. And so asking, I think this is another thing that leadership supervisors can do, is find out what that person is particularly interested in. And I think one of the things that comes up repeatedly, I think all CNAs and nurses in long-term care should get pay parity with every other setting. They should get what the hospital nurses get instead of 80% of it. But it's not the most important thing. Recognition, ability to help, opportunities for advancement are much more important than pay increases, although they're all important. And just a brief word about long-term care, about more longer-term employees. Being part of the decision-making and being part of a team are the two things that are most important to those folks. So I think the other thing I didn't mention is clear communication systems. And so every one of those things that the research has shown is really important has been integrated into the programs that Ariana and James have talked about. And I think the other thing it illustrates is you can't do one thing. You have to put a package together of multiple features, multiple factors that influence retention into a package that makes sense for the staff. Okay, we have a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, it doesn't appear as though there are any open questions,
Nope.
but I will. There are practically the same number of people who are still on this webinar as were on at the beginning of the webinar. So that means that what you were all saying, James, Ariana, and Barb, was really meaningful to people. They wanted to hear the end. I'm going to just wrap up with the following. We invite you all to become members of Advancing Excellence. We have organizations like trade associations and professional associations that are members of Advancing Excellence. We have provider members like AG Rhodes is a provider member, and then we have companies like Matrix Care and Pathways Healthcare are members of Advancing Excellence, and then we have many individual members and academic institutions that have become members. We invite you to become members. It's not expensive, and it's also you can add to our collaboration. We really appreciate input from all the different sectors of long-term care. Somebody asked a question about assisted living. That's something that we discussed at a board meeting last week. Going to be looking at how we're going to be advancing excellence along the entire continuum of long-term care. So once again, thank you all for being here today. And you can listen to the webinar on our website and go to the website also to listen to previous webinars. And We'll be doing more Spotlight Series webinars in the future, probably focused on different aspects of recruitment and retention of staff and improving staff stability. You'll be hearing more from us. So thank you again for being here today. And I think that's it. Anybody else have anything to add? No? Okay, it's 1 o'clock. Okay, have a great day, everyone.